So I'm John R. Seidel, John Rutherford Seidel III. I've always been referring to myself as the next, the next generation, and I'm glad we can have the young leaders of the next generation here with me. To my right, they're all to my right, we have Indy Nelson, and Indy, if you want to go ahead and say.
Thanks, John. My name is Indy Nelson. I'm from UC Berkeley. Basically, I'm running a company called LED Alternative Energy, and basically what we're doing is we're creating two different platforms. So for a moment, think back to your homes and think of all those lights that you have in your homes, those incandescents, fluorescents. For instance, in this hotel room above our head are all incandescents. So the question then is how do you switch to LED technology, and why would you switch? Well, what we're doing is we're creating a marketplace that basically has the opportunity for you to go online, determine what bulb you currently have, and then provide the LED to replace that with. And that's what we're doing at Cal as a technology company. A little bit about myself. I'm a rising senior, business administration, environmental, economic, and policy. Ultimately, I want to go into politics, and my signature issue would be air quality and climate change. I think that's a parallel in the 21st century. It's the generation on the stage that's going to make that impact, and that's going to work with the previous generation to really make as much of a significant impact in a short amount of time before we get to that tipping point. I think during the next 15 to 20 minutes, all of us will share our thoughts and articulate that.
All right, thank you, Indy. All right, Gordon, tell us about yourself and your background in politics and what you're up to now.
Great. Thank you, John, and thank you, Chip. It's really fun to be up here. Hi, everyone. My name's Gordon Bronson. I'm the Director of Partnerships for a company called Growtainer, and we developed a technology to be able to grow fruits and vegetables inside recycled shipping containers using hydroponics and LED lighting, and essentially be able to grow food anywhere on the planet. And I'll have a chance to talk a little bit more about that on the panel. I'm a native of Aspen, Colorado. Grew up here in town, and started my career in politics, and I've always liked taking on big challenges. And so when I got started in politics here, getting a Democrat elected in Colorado was a big challenge, and less so now over the years. Served in the Obama administration, and have been out working in the startup space for the last couple of years.
And I think it's interesting to add that both of us started our political, careers sophomore year from the DU, because we're both pioneers from the University of Denver. And we all started with just internships that were given kind of just offhand from the DU political science department.
Same professors.
The same professors, and this is what happens after you graduate. So it's I'm hoping I get the same lucky and same success. Thank you, Gordon. All right, Morgan.
My name is Morgan Williams, and I work with soils in various capacities. I love soil. I believe that soil is a really magical medium. It's the connection of all the spheres. It's the skin of the planet. So you have the biosphere, the lithosphere, the atmosphere, all converging in this one critical zone, and amazing things happen in this critical zone. And in 1 teaspoon of soil, about a gram, which is the weight of a paperclip, you've got 500 billion, or 50 billion, sorry, 50 billion organisms all working in this little zone, which is immense biodiversity and activity. And I'm really curious about that. So once we step back and once I recognize, wow, the Anthropocene is a real thing, we're impacting the planet at all these different scales, whether it's from the gram of soil to the global climate. It's sort of an empowering recognition. At the same time, it's a little bit depressing. It's empowering because we know that we can create change at a global level, that the things that we are doing are capable of acting at that scale. And that's pretty amazing if we have the capacity to harness that in a positive way. So I work with soils to harness that in a positive way, and I have a company that makes these soil amendments to collaborate with these microorganisms to grow better soils, to increase production of ecosystem services, to grow better crops, and collaborate with the soil. So collaboration is a key word of the conference, and I think looking down beneath your feet is an easy way to start collaborating, and it's oftentimes underappreciated or even acknowledged. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Morgan. All right. So I just want to start off with trying to find our role and becoming the leaders of the next generation. That's exactly what we're doing. And we can all agree that we as humans have had a significant impact on our planet, and not always in beneficial ways. And so I would like to hear your perspectives on humans as global actors, and not just humans, young people as global actors, and ask what drives us to create positive impacts on our Earth to promote human sustainability. What is our role as a global actor? Who wants to go?
Well, I think the recognition, one, that we do have the capacity to make a change, and I think that recognition is often beaten out of us. And growing up in this generation, perhaps like every generation, we're sort of beaten into submission until we behave in a way that is convenient to those that are in power at the time. So, and that's recognizing that, I think, first is a great first step. So knowing that, one, we do matter. We're a powerful generation. We're the most educated generation that there's ever been. We're connected. We're enthusiastic about doing some things. And so I think just recognizing that and stepping back and growing into that and standing proud and tall in that recognition that, okay, guys, there's a lot of work to do. It'd be really convenient if we didn't have as much work to do. But we've got the capacity to do some things, and maybe they're small everyday things. Maybe they're not really fancy technological fixes. I think we get fixated on technological fixes and apps that do all these things. But everyone's individual action actually does make an impact. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think what Morgan said is key. I mean, we live in a time where it's never been easier for what I do, sitting here in Aspen or in my office in New York, to affect something on the other side of the planet. And it's a time when engaging people around the world and engaging young people around the world to stand up and say, hey, be part of this process and be part of the solution. From food systems, we've developed a kind of bizarre relationship to food, right? Where, like, sitting in Aspen or sitting in anywhere that has seasonal climates, I shouldn't have a craving for tomatoes in February, but I demand that and I want that. And so, from a technology perspective, we're looking at how do we make it so that you can have your tomato and do it in a way that's efficient rather than having to truck tomatoes from California or Mexico to New York. And that's something that this generation really cares about. What does local production look like, and how do you scale local production? And what's so cool about being on this panel is, we've got a soil expert, an LED expert, a food guy, and we're all playing in the same ecosystem. We're all trying to solve similar fundamental problems. And we live in a time where we can't look at things in individual tranches. We have to look at the big system and the big theories behind what that change is going to look like.
And I believe Morgan said it was like the key word of this conference, collaboration, and see how it overlaps with one another. And I look forward to asking questions that will be able to take everybody's passion into account and kind of go as one. Indy?
I think collaboration is key. One thing that all of us are here is for climate change. We're all passionate about the environment. One thing I'd like for everyone here to think about is not necessarily climate change, but air quality. When we look at senators across the United States, a lot of senators don't believe in climate change. A lot of deniers in the United States will not believe in climate change. But when you look at air quality and when you look at the parts per million in our air, that's something that affects us now. It affects our kids, well, your kids, asthma rates, such like that. So air quality is something that I look at very, very closely. I think when we're looking about the environment, one of the things that the World Health Organization just mentioned, 7 million people a year die because of the air quality. Now, when you connect air quality with climate change, they're both connected. But when you talk to someone that doesn't believe in climate change and you focus just on the air quality, you can actually change that person's mindset and have that person change to thinking about the climate, thinking about coal, thinking about natural gas. I know one thing that I always look at in the energy sector, because that's what I'm based at, is energy, not just in the United States, but around the world. When you look at China and the United States are competing economies. China will be the largest economy by 2030. And when you're looking at both economies and you're looking at pollution around the world, they're both connected. And that when you're looking at coal, that is the #1 generational source that's being added each year. For instance, last year, 66% of all the new energy sources came from coal. That is a problem, right? So one of the things that I look at when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to LEDs, is looking at worldwide change today, tomorrow, next year. And one of the things that we always look at is generation. But we don't really focus on efficiency as much as we would hope. I know one stat I always look at is those fluorescent bulbs that are in offices or in schoolrooms. There's 2 billion of those in the United States. Now, a radical thing is in the next 5 years, if you were to switch every single one to LEDs, not only would you have a cost factor of a 48% internal rate of return on that investment, but you could take 140 million cars off the road. Now, if you do that for the 6 billion incandescent A19 bulbs out there, you can make even more of an impact. And actually, you could take out all those cars off the road with the emissions just by being efficient with our lighting. That is radical change that we can do now. There's investments to do that. There's a lot of funds that are out there to promote energy efficiency. But with all of that, only 1% of the market is currently LED. And that's what I'm passionate about. And it's kind of interesting to be on a panel when we're looking at food, when we're looking at different ways to affect ultimately this air quality, climate change phenomena that's really going to affect us not only just in the next 10 years, but really in the next century. And
absolutely. Looking forward to making a sustainable future. I think that's what you're getting across with food, industry, and of course energy as well. I think you can add solar to that, to nuclear, the coal, and to the natural gas. Hopefully less coal. So, Gordon, I wanted to know a little bit. Your background started so political, and I know we've been over that, but now you're working with growtainers. So please tell me, how did you transition from politics to growtainers, and what growtainers even are?
So I'm sure there are a lot of people in this room who've worked in politics, worked in government, and you know, I like to get my hands dirty and do stuff. And Washington is not the easiest place to do that. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And so when I transitioned from campaign politics into the administration, I kind of quickly learned how slowly things progress. And so for after my time in the administration, I was very, very interested in jumping into startup land, and growtainers came to me through a close friend who said, I think we have a way to change the way food systems work in this country and around the world. And what he was looking at was after the hurricane in Haiti, after the hurricane and the earthquakes in Haiti, we were trucking in tons and tons and tons of food from the United States into Haiti and from around the world in Haiti. And the idea was, okay, these shipping containers are moving all over the world to different places that can't feed themselves. What if these shipping containers could actually be more than that? What if we could take the technology being used in large-scale hydroponic farming and miniaturize it to be able to fit inside a shipping container? And as that idea evolved, what it became was asking the question, okay, right now around the world, the average potato travels more than the average human being. And the Rockefeller Foundation just finished a massive study in Africa in which they said that half to 2/3 of the food grown in Africa is not consumed because it's lost to spillage during transportation. So how do you hyper-localize food production while at the same time maintaining and increasing scale? And so the growtainer is designed to be a technology solution to that problem. Being able to grow food where it's needed, when it's needed, at an industrial scale, so that you're not losing time, you're not losing money in that growing process.
Absolutely. Well, and I know that overlaps with Morgan. Your passion for soil obviously has led you to take on the production of biochar, and you started your own company, Biochar Solutions, which has merged with the Biochar company, and now you're the chief science officer. So you get to focus more on the science aspect, while also having a part of the economic growth of that company as well. Please, for the audience, please explain what biochar is and what the process, how is it made, and its carbon negative process.
So I talked a little bit about the Anthropocene and our role as global actors. Well, biochar is an ancient technology that really constitutes the first, what's quote unquote called an anthrosol. So an anthrosol is a human modified soil system that has permanent human impact, and you can actually see what's going on in the soil profile as a function of what humans did. So in the Amazon, about 2,500 years ago, they decided to start amending their soils with charcoal. Inadvertently, they found that it started growing crops more efficiently, because in the tropics, you have a lot of rain, it leaches out all the nutrients. All of the nutrients are in the very, very, very top of the soil. So the char in the soil profile actually held on to those nutrients and biological life for a long time, and you had productivity that was persistent over years, decades, even hundreds of years. I visited these sites about 5 years ago, and what they did 2,000 years ago still exists today. What they chose to do to manage their soil, it was still there 2,000 years later. And the field that was right next to a field that was amended with the char was 6 times more valuable than that field that wasn't, which is pretty amazing. So what we do is we've modernized this ancient process. It was called terra preta. It's modern biochar. Biochar basically is a little piece of carbon that is highly porous. A teaspoon of this has a surface area of about a basketball court. You crush it down, it's the size of a basketball court. In that surface area, microorganisms can live. It's like a condo for them. They can adhere to nutrients and moisture. So you put this little condo down in there, and they have little homes on the charcoal, and nutrients absorbed to the charcoal. It creates a really nice system. So what we've done is we've started to modernize this, create fertilizers that are drop-in. You just put them in existing equipment. It's blended perfectly with the right microbial community and the nutrients, and you know, a typical farmer can use it on a cornfield or a hay field or whatever type of field that they want. So it's moving this anthrosol to scale in the modern age. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know there's a commercial process. You actually create soil reef. Tell me about soil reef and its commercial economic.
So we have bags of soil products that are everywhere from a quart to the truckload, train car load. So people can buy this stuff online and use it in their home garden or in their tomato farm or in their whatever system they might have. So we sell these soil products. The brand name is Soil Reef. It's sort of like this permanent soil reef that we create in the soil that is permanent. It stays there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And this is available, and you should go buy some. It's soilreef.com, yeah.
I think I might when I'm raising my own home garden. Gordon, I also wanted to hear about Growtainer's commercial usage and what those impacts. And I know you're just really, in the last 2 months you've built your first 2 prototypes, but you're also looking into moving it into restaurants. And what other industries can, or just give us the audience an update on how that's going.
Yeah, great. So as John mentioned, we finished building our prototype just a few months ago, and we now have 2 units operating growing food at the Texas A&M Ag Life School in Dallas. They're our research partners. And up till now, we've figured out about 45 varieties of crops that we can grow in the unit. So all kinds of leafy lettuces, berries, tomatoes. We can even do the germination phase for cocoa plants. So cocoa plants have to grow really big, but we can shorten that germination phase by quite a bit by doing the initial part hydroponically. And so we're looking at a wide range of potential commercial and humanitarian applications, ranging from being in restaurants in the U.S. or in developed countries, growing things like wasabi, that's a very, very expensive cash crop, to being able to grow nutrient-dense spinach and other leafy greens and other vegetables in parts of the world that have poor access to nutrition. So whether that's food deserts here in the United States or that's food deserts around the world, the same problems apply in hunger and starvation and malnutrition. So we're looking at working with foundations, working with private enterprise, private companies, restaurant groups. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Indy, didn't want to leave you out. I know there's definitely commercial usages for LED lighting, but you have said that it's actually more efficient to be able to use LED lighting than to actually put, for like the Better Buildings Challenge, it's more economical for business owners and building owners to switch out their LED lights because the payoff is better than actually implementing solar, even with the best state policies you can get.
Yeah, so here's the thing with solar and looking at LED technology. So in the last couple of years, we've invested billions of dollars in solar. Obama has spent billions of dollars in looking at solar companies. For instance, in California, you have Solar City from Elon Musk, right? So solar is very important in our generation portfolio. But the lack of efficiency has really been a phenomenon when you're looking at the bottom line for businesses. And let me give you an example of this. So let's say you have a 100-watt incandescent bulb that you have, let's just say, all the time. It's always on. It's a porch light. You never turn it off. It uses 100 watts. Now, if you were to switch that to a $10 LED, a Philips LED or a GE LED, it costs about $10, you could save 80 watts of energy. Now, let's do some math here. So if you were to install solar on your roof, it costs about $4 a watt to install for a residential. It's actually about $5.31 in California. Let's just be conservative. Let's say $4. Okay? So now sun is not always outside. You don't always have sun. So you only have it about 25% of the time, meaning that if you're saving 80 watts and it's costing you $4, so the 80 times 4 is going to be 816, $320, but then you have to times that by 4 because you need enough energy coming from the sun to cover the efficiency or the inefficiency of that bulb. So it actually turns out it's about $1,000 of solar that you have to install just to cover the inefficiency of that one bulb. Now, we did a case study at Walmart, and Walmart spent $250 million last year installing 89 megawatts of solar around the world. Well, if you were to just look at the 260 stores in California and you were to retrofit those to LEDs, right, we could do that in about 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks with new LEDs. They're plug and play, take out the old one, put the new one in, no rewiring. You could save more energy just in California than all the energy generated worldwide. Now, the main reason that companies don't switch is because solar is sexy. And LEDs have not been marketed in a way that makes the consumer think that you're going green, even though it's a more beneficial way. So the thing that we're doing as LED Alternative Energy is we're going to solar companies in 2015 with the platform that you can actually retrofit that home as well as providing solar on the roof. It's a bundled package. In California, solar companies don't do that. So we're in talks with one of the largest solar companies to provide that bundling aspect with our software, do the energy audit, retrofit to LEDs, as well as solar on the roof. It's a phenomenon to bundle the two, and I think that's the future. You got to look at efficiency. You got to look at generation for us to have a clean economy of the 21st century.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And I think when you bundle it together, it actually helps the payoff of both as well in both installations, which is kind of what I want to get to with the ability for grow-tainers, because I know, Gordon, you're looking into possibly using solar on top of those shipping containers to produce energy for the LED light bulbs that actually give the energy for the plants to grow. And so being at AREI-AREDAY, it's only appropriate to talk about the collaboration and overlap between its possible use of renewable energy. What's the potential, and are there any challenges to that assertion that you can use solar for?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we're tackling right now. So, you know, in solar energy, there's kind of two ways that you get solar. There's direct transmission, where you put a unit on right outside your house, and that comes into your energy supply, or you buy offsets from the grid. So in areas where we're working on grid, so in urban areas, city fronts, that's a piece of cake. We can buy into the grid and work off of a city's renewable portfolio. In terms of being able to work in more rural areas and be able to put solar directly on the units, the challenge now is in battery storage and transmissions. So, you know, for the 20 hours a day, 18 hours a day that you have sunlight, no problem. For the other, 6 or 8 hours where you're going without, we would have to be either working with a generator or be working on the grid, because the battery technology just isn't there yet. Now we're working with a couple of battery manufacturers right now to figure out how to overcome that, and that's ultimately the goal. And it's right there. It's this close, but it's just a little bit over the horizon. So
Absolutely, and that's going to be a big part of the poverty amelioration potential, because I mean, along the areas that aren't connected to the grid whatsoever, you're going to have to find a way to produce energy without using, a fossil fuel generator. So I just wanted to hear also the challenges with LED lighting that you've found in founding your LED Alternatives Energy company.
Yeah, it's knowledge. I mean, on this panel, you said it yourself. You purchased a product from Philips. It went out within the first few months, and you have a bad experience with that. And that's the big thing with knowledge, right? You have a ton of products coming from China. These products are bad. They're not really good. Now, here's the thing with LED technology. A lot of companies make those here in the United States. A great example is this company called Luxil Technology. We got a partnership with them. What they do is they provide this plug-and-play bulb made in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley, and they provide a 48% internal rate of return for businesses to switch to LEDs. So if you have an office building that's 40, 50,000 square feet, you can have an electrician come in and one day retrofit to LEDs. You got a 50% decrease in your lighting costs, as well as that bulb's going to last 3 times longer. So the main hurdle for us is education. Once you bridge that, it's really providing that marketing to show LEDs are the way to go. Because really, when you're having an industry standard of 12% on your return, and you're able to quadruple that, that's huge. And internal rate of return, really quick for those that don't know, if you invest $100 in a project, that internal rate of return basically shows how much you're getting back. So 48% means every year you're getting $48 back in your return. For solar, it's about $12. $12 on every $100 you invest. So it's a big difference. LED is the future. The question is not when. But the question is not if, but when is that going to occur? And that's what we're working on it.
Absolutely, and it's going to take an all the above strategy. I just wanted to end, we were talking about the challenges. What are the final challenges with biochar?
Well, you know, we have this big audacious goal. You might have heard that biochar has the potential to be carbon negative, which is this really cool concept. If you think about carbon in the atmosphere as pollution, the concept is then, well, how do you treat that pollution as an asset? And how do you actually remove it from the air and trap it in a useful way? And biochar is a technology that can do that, and it works through photosynthesis to sequester the carbon from the air. The biochar production process stabilizes that carbon in a solid form, and we then bank that into the soil carbon bank and put it down there to gain value year after year after year. So the problem for us is very much getting to a relevant scale to meet that goal. And globally, we have the potential to do between maybe 400 million and maybe at best 800 million tons of CO2 negative per year. So it's purely a matter of scale to accomplish that, and that's a massive amount of carbon, and it's something that we'll need to do moving forward because we're at 400 ppm or so. You know, if we ever want to get back to 350 ppm, that means that we'll have to physically remove carbon from the air. And there are very few ways of actually doing that. And with us, our challenge is actually, all right, guys, let's scale. Let's make this as easy to use as possible so that we can scale in a way that is meaningful at that scale.
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to end with, it's going to take a collaborative effort, you know, in all the above strategies. It's going to take LEDs, it's going to take solar, it's going to take a change in our agricultural sector to make ourselves more sustainable and also to help ameliorate poverty worldwide. And so as part of the next generation, I'm really excited to be working with these young group of young entrepreneurs and leaders for really the next group of leaders, global leaders and global actors worldwide. Thank you guys for a great panel, and keep up the good work. All right, cool.